Hello there. Today I'm taking a look at some 2019 wines from Bordeaux. This particular wine's coming from Margaux, so this is Château Labégorce. So the estate originally dates back to the 14th century, and the origins of its name is slightly blurred. Possibly it was owned by the Gorsse family. Possibly it was owned by the Labegorce family. Nobody's quite sure. The property, however, was one of the biggest on the Médoc and came to be broken up into three major parts during the French Revolution. And quite recently, back in 1989, the Perrodo family, oil magnates, chose to buy Château Labégorce and have gone on to purchase the other parts of the original property and to reassemble it. So starting in 1989, they completed these purchases in 2005 when they bought what was at that stage the neighbouring chateau, Château Labégorce ZA. The soils are a variety of types. They're predominantly a sandy gravel soil, making up about 70% of the property's vineyards. And then there's another 30% which are sandy loams. The vineyard is planted 55% to Cabernet Sauvignon and 40% to Merlot. The balance is planted with probably about equal amounts of both Cabernet Franc and Petit Verdot. And the estate was, at the time of the original Cru Bourgeois classification, was classified as a Cru Bourgeois superior. This particular vintage, the 2019, is a blend of 46% Merlot with 40% Cabernet Sauvignon. There's 9% of Cabernet Franc going into this, and 5% of Petit Verdot makes up the balance. Harvest went on between the 19th of September and the 12th of October. The fruit was entirely picked by hand. Fermentation took place in a mixture of cement tanks and stainless steel vats. And once fermentation was complete, the wine aged for somewhere between 12 and 14 months in French oak barrique, so 225 litre barrels, and about 40% of those were new. So let's have a look at the wine, shall we? I'll have to say this is an impressively sort of ruby to black red, really. It's quite sort of inky dark. I certainly can't see through the wine. It's holding its colour pretty well to the rim. There's just a slight lightening at the meniscus. The wine is 14% alcohol. It's clinging to the glass pretty well. There are some tears running down there. So let's see what the aromas are like, shall we? There's quite a sort of a hot, cooked plum prune note to that. There's certainly notes of cedriness sort of framing the fruit. And then there are, despite the sort of the slightly baked notes, there are some quite classically slightly sort of tobacco leaf notes as well. So let's see what it tastes like, shall we? The wine starts with good acidity. It has very fine, well-defined, grainy tannins that are coming to the fore. There's a richness and depth to the fruit. It starts as rich red plum notes. It becomes more sort of black plum and then moves into a really quite juicy black cherry note. Behind the black cherry there are some sort of slightly savoury hints of meatiness, hints of black olive notes. There's a lovely concentration of fruit. I suppose there's a slightly licoricey core, sort of sweet licorice. It's not the intense bitter licorice, but that's all there. And running through this whole lovely rich ripe fruit, there are hints of cedar, perhaps supported by touches of vanilla, just those exotic sweet spices just surfacing, and yet then being overwhelmed by this sort of juicy black fruit, the lovely sort of black cherry sort of notes there. On the finish there is this sort of lively dark fruit. The wine's got a sort of medium to medium full-bodied weight. The tannins are fine. There's a little bit of drying grip, but actually they're not that astringent at all. And as I say, the finish has this lovely freshness which is keeping it lively, and this ripe black fruit still coming through there with quite good length. So actually that's a really attractive wine. I mean, I'm sure it would very happily age for at least 10 years and probably longer depending on whether you prefer older wines or not. And yet at the same time, The tannins here and the acidity are well in balance. The alcohol doesn't particularly stand out. I mean, 14% is still relatively high, but there's good fruit here, and the freshness of the acidity is lifting it really nicely. The oak seems nicely handled as well. Everything's complementing each other very well, and there's a lovely harmony in there. So yes, a really interesting wine. Thank you for watching the tasting. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, do please hit the like button. Do leave us any comments you've got in the comments box below. We'd love your feedback. Please share the video with anyone you think might be interested. That would be great. Also, do consider following us on YouTube. It would be great to have your support. Most importantly, however, do please make some time. Come and join us for another tasting in the very near future, won't you? Bye for now.